kind of start from तपाईँको journey at MIT because त्यही हो सबैको start अनि म पनि एउटा phase-मा छु where I don't know if I want to go abroad. Obviously, I want to go abroad, हैन तर तपाईलाई
Hey, thank you.
So त्यो phase-मा चाहिँ तपाईले when you went to MIT हैन what was the initial हुन्छ नि mindset that you went के थियो अनि त्यसपछि हैन because a lot of people अहिले भन्दाखेरि it's more of education भन्दा नि there's like a FOMO here नेपालमा until unless you don't go abroad केही हुँदैन खालको FOMO छ के सो त्यति बेला कस्तो थियो कल्चर अनि के माइन्डसेटले चाहिँ तपाईँ त्यहाँ जानुभयो
Okay. So I think some of that culture, which is going outside of the country, was also there for us. त्यति बेला हाम्रोमा पनि थियो. Maybe general society मा सबैजना बाहिर गइसकेका थिएन the way it is today. तर त्यो starting of that के अरे यो हुन्छ नि त्यो trend सुरु भइसकेको थियो है. So we wanted to go abroad as well. अब त्यति बेला मलाई के थियो भने अब I felt like I could go to, it doesn't matter whichever के अरे university I go to could be one of the like भनौँ न least challenging universities in US तर जान पाए हुन्थ्यो भने चाहिँ थियो हैन. Now looking back अब given that I studied at MIT, then I worked at US for a number of years. Looking back the best thing I did in my life is to go to a good university So MIT actually has made such a big difference for me not because I'm smart not because like it's because of the brand that it is and people associated with a certain quality level, certain intelligence level, and certain mindset level. That has really helped me. So when I go ask for work, the fact that I went to MIT, the guy already gives me a benefit of doubt. He says, well, I know this guy is working in Nepal. We don't know Nepal. We don't know the quality of people in Nepal, but the fact that he went to MIT, I'm sure he's going to get it done. And for us in Leapfrog, that has been a big difference. And likewise, my partners, they've been to Stanford, BYU. That gives us such a big credibility factor. And that's what you need to begin with. Delivery to hunai paryo, execution hunai paryo. Tar tyo hune bittikai it helps. So when I look back, I think the best decision I did was to go to MIT. Now, what does that mean for people today? Should we all go out? I would say the reason I said that before is the quality of your university matters quite a bit. So if it is a choice between IOE or IIT in India versus or like it's just any other college in the US, I would say IOE, IIT hands down. So you can always go to the US for graduate studies. त्यो पनि छ नि त अहिले अब के अरे ब्याचलर्समै जानुपर्छ भन्ने पनि छैन. So please take some effort to know more about your college and find the right college to go to. It makes a big difference in your life.
Because a lot of people, a lot of people have so much, they're so confident in themselves. They were only striving for the top colleges. At one point, my friend who was really good student only applied to the, let's say, Ivy League colleges. He didn't have the safety net of other colleges. So I'd also recommend people to have their safety net as well in terms of their capability. But how challenging was MIT for you?
MIT was very challenging and not challenging at all either. Both of them. Okay, I think some of my bad habits from school here carried over at MIT as well. The thing that I remember at MIT was like really, really smart people. I definitely remember that. Grading चाहिँ curved हुन्थ्यो. त्यो भनेको के भने like basically if you're at average it's a B and one standard dev above A, one standard dev less C. So it was very easy to get B. That's the way I remember it. It was very hard to get an A because everybody who's there has been at the top of their class, and that's why they've gotten into it. So somebody has to come last, somebody has to come at the top of the class. So it's very tough. And I remember basically some of the people could not cope with that competition and decided to basically bail out. त्यो पनि देखियो हैन. तर I remember the quality of student body was very good. There were people from all over the world. There were people from all over US. And that's what I enjoyed quite a bit. Very smart people. Being among them, it kind of raises your level as well. मलाई के थाहा छ भने हैन there was one class that we took, algorithms ko class थियो. In MIT everything is by numbers. So I still remember the number 6046 भन्दै हैन. अनि it was we would get an exam that was take home. So you could take it you had 3 days to do it. हैन. अनि त्यसपछि And of the 100 questions that we had to do any 16 or 17. It was up to us, whichever we choose. Open book. Right? You just were not allowed to consult with other friends, but it was like you could take 3 days. Look at the books as much as you want and answer it. त्यो थियो. Even so, I remember I got like 67 or 68 out of 100 on that. And that was like A for the class. त्यो थियो. Ani out of the 100 questions, I remember like 6 or 7 have not been solved yet. Never been solved. And what I heard was every year one question gets solved. That's the level of student body of intelligence at that level. So that's what I remember. It was very competitive. But then also because it was so hard, it was very competitive. You make really good friends, So they have been lifelong friends. I still am very good friends with them. It's been 20 years since I graduated, but very good friends from back then.
Were you like a very studious person when back grade 10, grade 11,
No, I know.
Before getting into MIT?
I think I was a smart guy once. You're not smart in the sense that like I had a very good IQ, I just like doing shortcuts, and that's what I loved doing it. Math, I loved math, by the way. And math mental math ekdam garna man लाग्थ्यो. So for me, like however it happens, I had to be the first one to raise my hands solving the problem. That was what I took pride in, right? So त्यो थियो. I think a competitiveness चाहिँ एकदमै थियो ममा. So I was like, I got to beat everybody भन्ने चाहिँ थियो, that drove me to certain studiousness, त्यो थियो. तर I wouldn't say I was like the typical like first boy त्यो हुन्छ नि nerdiness त्यो चाहिँ थिएन ममा. I was fairly all rounded. I made good friends,
What do you think can be some qualities that would help people to get into universities like MIT?
So I think about दुई तीनवटा कुरा छ, which like a par for the course भन्छ नि, हैन. सबभन्दा पहिला त your scores have to be good. SATs, TOEFL, that is par for the course. Everybody has good scores, If you don't have that, you'll probably not even be in the contention. Number one. Number two, तिम्रो चाहिँ GPA र class ranking matters quite a bit, Transcript भन्छ नि, that's very important, right? Number three, teacher's recommendation. I remember हाम्रो बेला के हुन्थ्यो भने basically you apply to 11 or 12 colleges. That's like par for the course for us, and त्यसपछि हामी के भन्दैन एउटा चाहिँ dummy college बनाउँथ्यो के. So let's say भनौँ न एउटा कुनै कलेजमा चाहिँ जाने होइन, अप्लाई पनि गर्ने होइन, I'll just give one name Vishal भनौँ न, हैन. त्यहाँ गऱ्यो तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ मैले पठाउने होइन, हामीले नै मेल गर्नु पर्थ्यो नि त. So I should take like a recommendation from teachers, then they खोल्यो हेऱ्यो हैन. And I wanted to make sure like those recommendations were good before I send them, and otherwise I'll look for another teacher one day. As well, I don't know if you can do that anymore. So teachers' recommendation matters quite a bit. For me, I remember there were 2 teachers that actually wrote exceptional recommendation letters for me. There was a Mr. A.J. Wild, a British teacher, and he left before we actually had to apply, but he gave me an open recommendation again. And some of the language that he uses, actually like differentiates you from any other people. It's not just like what you say, how you say it matters as well. So for example, what he says, like, look, this guy came in stood 6th out of 80,000 students, and that too from Sangja, where like the resources are very minimal. That makes a difference, And then like he said, like, he has the hallmark of a genius mind, whether that's true or not, the fact that the teacher said it made a difference. एउटा थियो. अर्को मेरो फिजिक्स टिचर हुनुहुन्थ्यो खुलाल सर भन्ने. अहिले he is the principal of Budayangan School, So he had just come back from UK, and then he actually wrote such a good recommendation for me, Basically things that didn't even happen, but he felt very strongly about me. That's why he wrote it, And that made a big difference in my application. So एउटा त्यो भयो. अर्को, you have to have a very compelling story. And I feel like that's one of the biggest advantages people from Nepal have. The level of competitiveness has gone way beyond what we had. Tara pani, I think everybody in Nepal can have a unique story. Mero kesma ke थियो भने मान्छे के भने look, I studied in Sangja. I'm here in Budayangan School, and I'll go in the US. Mero yo थियो, But what I know for sure is the difference between, or the level of adjustment that I had to have for Budayangan School versus my America level of adjustment. I think that's going to be insignificant compared to the level of adjustment that I had coming from Sangja to Budayangan School. Now I feel like I'm fortunate enough to study in the National School Center of Excellence. that's why I feel a sense of having to give back to my community. मैले त्यो भनेको थिएन. अनि त्यसलाई सपोर्ट गर्नको लागि मैले 2टा प्रोजेक्ट गरेको थिएँ. एउटा चाहिँ आई वेन्ट टु यो चाहिँ कामी भिलेज होइन. अब द्याट्स लाइक वेयर अनटचेबलको कुराहरू थियो नि त है. म र हाम्रो उज्जवल थापा भन्ने हुन्छ नि लाइक विवेक सेलको हि पास्ट अवे कोरोनाको टाइममा. हि एन्ड आई वेन्ट एन्ड स्पेन्ट अ विक इन हिज भिलेज and then we went to Kami village every day, basically trying to find their livelihood, you know, and how they are basically dancing around this issue of untouchability भन्ने है. So त्यो एउटा थियो. अर्को चाहिँ यो काली गण्डकी प्रोजेक्ट हुन लागिरहेको थियो कि त्यति बेला. एन्ड इट्स नट रन अफ द रिभर, इट्स वाज तिम्रो चाहिँ रेजर्भर त्यो थियो. त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ सर्टन डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट कम्युनिटीमा हुन्थ्यो होइन. अनि मैले चाहिँ लाइक वाट इज द इकोनोमिक के अरे सोसियो इकोनोमिक इम्प्लिकेसन अफ द्याट डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट होइन. हाउ दे आर बिङ कम्पेन्सेटेड फर द्याट अब चेन्ज इन लाइभलीहुड फर द डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट भन्ने त्यो 2टा प्रोजेक्ट गरेको थिएँ होइन. अनि आई थिङ्क अब सेकेन्ड वाला त मलाई थाहा छैन. द फर्स्ट वान मेड अ बिग डिफरेन्स है. एउटा त्यो थियो. अनि मलाई अझ पनि थाहा छ कि मेरो एसे चाहिँ द्याट आई रोट फर MIT, आई बेसिकली वान्टेड टु बी भेरी डिफरेन्ट के फ्रम अदर्स होइन. सो एभ्रीबडी रोट अबाउट लाइक अब भनौँ न अब वाइ एम अ टेक्निकल गाई एन्ड अल द्याट. अब MIT मा त इट्स भेरी टेक्निकल होइन. मैले चाहिँ आई कम्प्लिटली फ्लिप द स्टोरी लाइन भनौँ or लाइक द एसे होइन. एन्ड आई सेड लाइक इमेजिन दिस इज 2050 होइन. And we have really made a big advancement in science and technology, you know. And I've made an infraction like a traffic infraction, and the judge has sentenced me to spend the next 24 hours as an electron. Right? That was my essay, you know, as an electron. And the inspiration for that story was a news article in American Scientific Journal के आउँदैन यहाँ पनि अझ पनि आउँछ होला होइन. त्यो एउटा थियो. अनि मैले त्यही पढिरहेको थिएँ त्यति बेला. अनि what I saw was there was a Nobel Prize announced for physics on that time जुन चाहिँ इलेक्ट्रोनहरू मुभ गर्दाखेरि they can actually like overcome obstacles भनेर भन्थ्यो क्या. It's just like they would like यो चाहिँ के अरे अब कुनै भन्छ सुत्त जाने as if that obstacle is not even there भनेर त्यो थियो टनलिङ जस्तो इफेक्ट भनेर होइन. मैले चाहिँ त्यसैको मा चाहिँ मैले एउटा एसे लेखेँ क्या होइन. अनि मैले चाहिँ के भने I've been sentenced to be an electron and I basically am like त्यो चाहिँ हुन्छ नि अब तिम्रो न्युक्लियसमा round जाँदाखेरि I'm there and then I basically made that like I see this wall and then I'm just going through it भनेर क्या होइन. So I just made around that and at least in my class that was like celebrated भनौँ न त्यो because it's such a different storyline भनेर a different essay line भनेर.
Because a lot of people हाम्रोमा पनि coming from a IB school उनीहरूले चाहिँ grade 11 देखि नै they were so much pushing on how you guys can write an essay होइन. How do you tackle अनि मैले चाहिँ 2टा स्पेक्ट्रम देखेँ कि. एउटा स्पेक्ट्रम मान्छे चाहिँ who have the confidence that they'll get into these Ivy Leagues होइन. Also अर्को स्पेक्ट्रममा चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ मान्छेहरू they never also dream about going to these colleges के. It's like कस्तो भन्ने म त सक्दिनँ कहाँ हार्वर्ड जस्तोमा पढ्ने कसरी ट्युसन फी कसरी गर्ने and then they never apply even though they have the skill set होइन. अनि for them, for those people, how do you think how much dreaming is हुन्छ नि having a vision is important? How much do you think that is important?
The thing is if you don't even apply then you're never going to get it होइन. So that's I mean applying is half the battle to begin with. I don't know how to answer that particularly but I'll give some examples of what happened in our time होइन. So हाम्रो बेलामा अब we felt like the competition is between us मात्र भन्नु लाग्थ्यो नि त होइन. अब आफ्नै कलेजको मान्छेहरू अब भनौँ A लेभल्सको मान्छेहरू अप्लाई गर्दाखेरि there was 24-25 people. यसलाई चाहिँ पाए हुन्थ्यो यसलाई चाहिँ पाए हुन्थ्यो अनि त्यहाँ गइन्थ्यो भन्ने हुन्थ्यो नि होइन. And then like when you go back to states you're like okay shit like there's people from everywhere you know. So many people you know. So like the competition was never between us. The competition was with everybody else around the world त्यो एउटा होइन. अनि अब इलस्ट्रेटिभ के छ भने हाम्रो बेलामा MIT मा 3 जनाले पाए हाम्रै क्लासको होइन. द्याट्स लाइक अब अनहर्ड अफ होइन. सो माई क्लासमेट वाज अ फ्रेन्ड अफ माइन्ड फ्रम बुढाङ्गड स्कुल. अब मेरो रुममेट्स उता MIT मा है. अनि अर्को चाहिँ मलिका भन्ने पनि थियो एकजना केटी होइन. सी अल्सो गट इन के है. एन्ड सी एक्चुली गट इन टु हार्वर्ड एज वेल है. अनि आई मिन एटलिस्ट आई वाज टप अफ माई क्लास है. मधुसूदन हु वेन्ट विथ मी वाज सेकेन्ड इन द क्लास होइन. मलिका त वाज लाइक 17th आउट अफ लाइक 30-35 होला कि होइन. But her essay was very compelling, you know, and her like test scores were very compelling, you know, and she deserved to get in as well, right? So it's just not like you don't have to be the top of your class at the very first name. You're obviously competing with everybody else. How your transcript speaks for you, how your essay speaks for you, how your background speaks for you. Those are all very important, you know. I'm sure Malika had the most compelling essays among us, all of us. So I would say the thing is you have to apply being from Nepal always gives you a leg up. Use that. Obviously, like त्यो जुन कुराहरु मैले भने नि, par for the course भनेको GPA राम्रो हुनु पर्यो, test scores राम्रो हुनु पर्यो, त्यो त चाहियो नै. But if you have that, and I would say if you can cross that hurdle, you have as good a chance as many people.